around Greenville and Spartanburg, and had been a candidate for re-election, but got an unhappy message from the voters in your primary effort, and you are now speaking out about this. I've seen you last night on Hardball. I've seen an interview you've given to the Associated Press. Now we have you here at the table. What's your message that you want to send to your party?
Well, what I hope we can be is the party that's the first one to become the adults on the scene. You know, we really need adults on the scene here in Washington to address the structural problems that we're facing. We've got Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security that are taking us over the grease cliff. And if we don't address those, then that's where we're headed. So what I hope is that my party is the first one that gets to the adult level, that says, okay, we're really ready to talk about real solutions. The challenge is if we go off on misinformation, talking about things like death panels and things like that, then what we're really doing is deceiving people. We're not getting to the real solutions. Good news is that there are people here that are working on real solutions. I mean, if you think of Paul Ryan, for example, with the Roadmap for America's Future, or Jeff Flake, a very credible conservative, Jack Kingston, who has exactly the right kind of spirit here. Those folks and others like them can lead us, I believe, to credible solutions. But we got to get there. We got to get beyond the fear. We got to get beyond the misinformation and get to these credible solutions, because that's what conservatives should be about.
What do you say to the people who, there was an article just this week in the newspapers that the worst appellation for any politician this year is incumbent, that voters are so angry that they're really, it's not party directed, it's clean sweep, get them all out and try new solutions.
Right. It's definitely the case. I mean, there's a sense that maybe if we picked the top 435 people in the phone book, we couldn't do any worse. And maybe that'd work, you know, to have the top 435 out of the phone book. But I think you'd lose some of those people I just mentioned that have really given some thought to what would be the plan. How would you deal with this situation we've got? And it is, the key here is to see it as an American challenge, not a Republican or a Democrat challenge. I know this town is based on partisanship and it's sort of geared that way. But really, this is an American challenge. And, you know, I got in some trouble for saying, Democrats aren't my enemies. They're my countrymen. I've got enemies, you know, Al-Qaeda, people like that. But Democrats aren't enemies. They're countrymen, often wrong, you understand. But we got to pull together here as a nation and figure out how to solve these things. You know, Nixon was the only one that could go to China. Maybe Bill Clinton was the only one that could sign welfare reform. In order to deal with Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, we're going to have to work together. So what I hope happens is we turn away from the misinformation, we turn away from the scapegoating, we turn towards solutions, and we pull together, realizing that we're all in this boat together.
A number of analysts are suggesting this year that what you're seeing, the divided country, is the evidence of a historic debate about the role of government in American life. So how do you work together if your views about government involvement are very, very different?
They are very different. But let's start with clearing up some misinformation. I followed a senior recently in a car that had a sticker, socialism, on the back of their car. And I got close enough to read what it said. It said, socialism is that system that works fine until you run out of other people's money. Well, that's a good understanding of how it is that we conservatives don't want to spend other people's money, but the people driving were seniors. And therefore they're receiving Social Security and they're on Medicare. And perhaps they were fairly young seniors. They might have an older relative in a Medicaid bed having run out of money, their own money. Maybe they're now converted to a Medicaid bed in a nursing home. That's pretty much society keeping up those folks. And so what we need to have is an honest conversation. Okay, if that's the case, if we really want to have individual reliance, which is what I believe we should be doing, then let's figure out a way to do that. But that means changing Medicare, Social Security, and Medicaid.
Give us your view of what you see specifically happening in the Republican Party this year as we head into the 2010 elections.
Well, like I say, I hope what's going to happen is that people like the voices I just mentioned, people like Paul Ryan or Jeff Flake or Jack Kingston, those kind of folks rise to the top and they're talking about solutions. They've got plans. If we take control in November, then Paul Ryan, for example, would be the Budget Committee chairman. That's an exciting thing, because Roadmap for America's Future could be a very helpful path. Only problem is there are only 12 of us on that bill. And so because it broaches these very difficult subjects we were just talking about. So if you're going to do that, get ready for the backlash, because some people that consider themselves conservatives don't want to hear that it's Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Then there are folks on the left that don't want to hear anything about changing the entitlement system. So really, this is an equal opportunity offender. The truth is an equal opportunity offender here. We're going to have to talk the truth to the American people and say, really, hard decisions lie ahead, but let's be the adults on the scene and work through those, and there's a way to get there. But it's not going to be pain-free. It's going to involve real changes to those major programs.
Just a couple of specifics before we get to calls. And folks, we have the phone number on the screen, and you know the system here. You can send us a message by Twitter, email, and also your phone calls. In our last segment with Congressman Becerra, he told us that the Social Security system is basically healthy, and that he does not support any age increases, as some have suggested. Do you share that view?
No. How could it be healthy if this year, for the first time, what was expected to happen in 2018 has now happened this year, that outflow exceeds inflow into Social Security? It was supposed to happen 2017, 2018. It happened this year. That's not a healthy system. What we have in Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. And Ponzi scheme, you know, is where you set up a contest or whatever where the later entrants pay out the earlier entrants. That's what Social Security is. But the gig is about up. And we're going to find that out. And so when Social Security starts calling on the IOUs that the Congress has sent over there, that's when the crisis starts to happen in Social Security. And it's what's exacerbating the budget deficit this year. We got a $1.4 trillion deficit this year. We got a $13 trillion debt. No, it's not healthy. We've got to take action on Social Security. But there are ways to get there. There are things we can do. It just means certainly honoring our commitments to current seniors, but to people that are younger, everything's got to change.
How about people close to retirement who have been banking on that income? Can you tell them now that based on what you know of the situation, they can expect that there might be changes in the eligibility age and/or means testing?
For those that are real close to retirement, I think not. I think there won't be many changes because, you know, you can't change the deal on people when they're just getting ready to retire. So surely you can't move the age up on the folks that are just getting ready to retire. In fact, in the Roadmap for America's Future, Paul Ryan has set it at 55. So above 55 and up, there are no changes. Below 55, younger than 55, then yes, some changes. That gives people time to plan and to adjust their retirement system. As to means testing, though, that is something that I think we need to consider for people that are even currently on Social Security. Because I realize that's a major change in the philosophy of the program. But tough times demand tough action, and that's the kind of thing we need to do.
Tax cuts. You will probably be faced with a vote before you leave Congress on whether or not to extend the Bush tax cuts because they are set to expire at the end of this year. What will your vote be?
Yes, because we have some economic expansion opportunities there. That's what, you know, conservatives believe, that if you tax people less, then the economy will grow. And having been on the Budget Committee for 6 years, from 93 to 98, and then gone out of Congress for 6 years back in 04, what we saw in that 6 years, it is the first 6 years here, is that yes, it was fiscal restraint. You've got to do the things we've just been talking about, changing programs, reducing expenditures, having fiscal restraint. But the key to balancing the budget is actually economic growth. It was the internet and the PC that caused us to be able to balance the budget in the late 90s. The expansion that in the economy created by those. We need a similar expansion. The one that I think that we can get here has to do with energy, and that's a favorite topic, but it's I think the next internet and the PC, the next plateau we can climb up on in our economy and create an enormous amount of wealth, enormous amount of jobs.
Well, we booked you for a call-in program, so we need to get to those viewers.